Okay guys, so this is the personal endeavour planning sheet. I've referred to it as the planning sheet A because there'll be another stage to this, and the expectation was that you completed this over the holidays. You had a read of it, you started to familiarise yourself with some of the terms and things that we're going to be doing. You had a read of this, and then you used this planning sheet to get some of your initial thoughts about what you want to do. We don't have time to choose an idea or choose a question and then change our minds. It's something we really need to start this term, and it needs to sort of run in the background for you to independently work on this, so that in term 3 we can pick it up and obviously bring everything together. Okay, so I'm just going to read from the sheet, guys. The personal endeavour is an opportunity for students to explore an area of the programme focus, and our programme focus is obviously sport, that is of interest to them. And that point's really important. You need to choose something that interests you. If it interests you, you'll smash through this quite easily, and your grade's going to be higher. I can guarantee if it's something that you know a little bit about and it interests you. So the students individually select the area of interest and explore and analyse relevant information, concepts, ideas, skills, and communicate their ideas and opinions about them. Okay, so there is scope within this piece of work to hear a lot about what you think about your particular project or your personal endeavour. It's not all just blah blah blah, things that you've researched or found. There's lots of scope in here for you to actually say what you think and your thoughts and opinions on this particular piece of work. One note just here, guys, is that we need to have different focuses. Each student needs to have a different question, not necessarily a different topic, but a different question. So there needs to be lots of different things happening within the class. It's not going to be like the issues analysis where in year 11 where you might all be doing sort of drugs in sport. It doesn't work that way. So you've got to present your endeavour in 2 parts, and we're focusing really at the minute on just number 1. Okay, now it can be research based, practical based, or a little bit of both. Okay, so like your year 11 issues analysis, that was mainly research based. You went and you found information on a topic, you looked at the argument for and against, you might have brought your own thoughts and opinions, and then a conclusion to finish. You can do that type of thing with this personal endeavour. However, I think it's going to be more engaging, more interesting, and you're going to get a lot more from it if it's a combination of research and practical. So you gathering some information on your particular topic or your question. And I've given you a couple of examples from last year. I told you about the boy that looked at different soccer boots and were they more accurate when he did various skills on the pitch. The archery lad that looked at the different types of bows and shooting over distance. BMXing and whether certain energy drinks had more impact on times around the track. So when I say practical, I'm talking those type of things. Okay, so you can provide evidence of your learning in a range of forms. You can do reports, photo stories, or it can be an oral presentation, skill demonstrations, reviews. So multimodal evidence is encouraged. Generally, most of the students in the class have done a written presentation, because the word limit isn't sort of too high, and you can get to 1,500 words quite quickly. That written presentation doesn't have to be sort of, rock solid paragraphs. It can be dot points, there can be graphs in there, diagrams in there, all of those types of things, and that will all contribute to the word count. So it doesn't have to just be 2 or 3 pages of solid writing. It can have photos and things like that in it as well. So with this planning sheet, I want you to, 1, choose an area of interest that relates to your sport or physical activity. And I stress physical activity because that is linked. So going to the gym or wanting to increase muscle mass and those types of things are all topics that we can look at. And then you need to decide on what focus. Is it going to be a practical-based inquiry, a research-based, or is it going to be a little bit of both? And I've given you a bit of information here. Okay. So with the practical-based inquiry, you're obviously going to be gathering some primary research of your own. You're not going to just rely on secondary sources. You can then gather this data, make some graphs, make it look fancy, and that type of thing. You can also bring in some secondary sources to support what you're doing. For example, one of the boys looked at the amount of female gender in sport in newspapers and things, and looked at how many articles there were on women and how women were portrayed. He gathered some primary research of his own, and also looked at some secondary sources, some existing research that had looked into that particular topic. So you can do a little bit of both. Okay. Or you can do just that sole research-based ones where you are looking at a question and just pulling in lots of different research that's been done on it from various sources, multiple sources, not just the internet, and bringing it into a well-rounded discussion, argument type question. Okay. So what I'm wanting you to do is decide on which one you think suits you and your skill set better. Number 3, identify potential methods that you can use to gather your information. Surveys and interviews are fantastic. We had a few surveys and interviews done last time with people out in sports clubs when they were talking about, it might have been about sponsorship. I remember one boy looked at alcohol sponsorship and how the local footy club looked at that and whether it should be banned and that type of thing. So, and also your own personal experiences if your topic relates to a sport that you do or something to do with a workplace, a sporty workplace that you might work in. Okay. Gymnasium's a great place to gather research if you're talking to people about training methods or the types of nutritional supplements you can take to help with muscle mass improvement, things like that. And also identify the key people to help you with your project. Page 2 more or less talks a little bit about a few tips on what I think that they could look like, and these are based on some of the things that the kids have done. But I'm suggesting that a combination of both prac and researched will be the best way for you to hit your words and the best way for you to hit your word count in with some quality stuff in there to get you in that higher grade band. Okay, so I've given a few examples here of what they could look like. So for example, with the biomechanics type focus, it might be on the different type of running spikes. If you're an athlete, you might want to trial out some different type of running spikes and see which ones work best for which different surfaces and whether they impact on your times or things like that. So we really need to personalize it, guys, to try and link it into something that you do already, that you've got some knowledge on, and that it's easy for you to complete. You don't have to sort of move heaven and earth to go out there and gather some information about your project, about what you're wanting to look at. Okay? And obviously I can help and I can support you with that. So there's some examples. All right, and then there's some examples of just your general research-based ones, which we've spoken about. Headgear in AFL is one that somebody looked at previously. So here's your actual sheet that I've created this holiday for you to do. Here's your name. I want you to list 3 potential topic areas. That might be soccer, rugby, or going to the gym. That's sort of a very general topic area. And then I want you to come up with a question for each one of those, something that you feel that you could go out there, gather information on, and come up with a bit of a summary and a conclusion, so that your project has a bit of a focus. And it can really be anything. So at this stage, I'm wanting 3 topic areas, 3 general questions, okay, to tell me which preference, whether it's practical, researched, or both, which one you think you're going to do. And obviously I'm going to collate this information, because the more information I have, the more I can help support you and actively try and do a bit of research myself to find the resources and sources for you and try and guide you as best I can. So this table is about how you're going to gather your information, how you're going to gather your primary sources and your secondary sources. And then this last box I've put in is who can help you. So I want you to write down names of people, whether it's myself, whether it's another member of the class, a family member, someone in a local sports club, Mr. Fitzgerald in the library, some other staff member in school, someone within your support group that you have, that can help support you with your project that you know of already, and we can tap into those people or other people you think you might be able to go to. Okay, so all of that information, once you give me that sheet, will help me read through and help guide you as much as I can. So this is really important that everyone gets this sheet completed by the end of the week. Okay, and I'll collate that and then save that information, and we'll go from there. Okay, any problems, guys, and just flick me an email.